Now, the bandwagon, as they say, was getting heavy. Everyone started to jump on the bandwagon again.
Portland is not in a position to try to come back, and he should just kind of leave that alone.
Stop being satisfied with mediocre performances.
I don't like it. That's plain and simple. I really don't like it. An all-star game just shows how much they just kind of continue to placate the players and their lackadaisical efforts on the court.
You really sparked my interest, and I'm sure that of many others. Alister, Albert, thank you very much.
Hello and welcome to episode 26 of Baseline to Baseline with Alister and Orane. I am, of course, Alister Albert, and we have, of course, Orane Buchanan, all the way from Jamaica after the World Cup, coming from his duties, talking about Argentina and Spain and all the other teams who kind of went through that whole tournament. We're back after a little bit of a break. Quite a lot of things have happened since the NBA Finals. We had Carnival, we had the World Cup, we had the Wimbledon, we had quite a few things happen over the last couple of weeks. But we're here to talk about, of course, basketball because, a lot has happened, a lot has moved on, and we're here to bring it to you as usual. And we're just going to get straight off into it because they have so many topics that we want to try to cover. I'm hearing a little bit of feedback. Hopefully that kind of dies down in a few minutes. Sorry for any technical difficulties that are coming through on the feed. But hopefully that kind of calms down in a little bit. But what I'm going to say is, of course, congratulations. The New York Knicks are the NBA champions for 2025-2026. We had a thrilling finals, well, a little bit of an anticlimactic final because we wanted to see a long-lasting series. But of course, the Knicks took it in 5 games. Wembanyama, as otherworldly as he had been, hadn't been able to, propel his team to the championship like we thought. We both predicted that. But of course, the Knicks have won the championship, and now we're moving on into the next season where they now need to defend their crown. And some little issues that I want to bring up for them, outstanding things that will go on is we have some contract situations that need to be sorted out. We have Karl-Anthony Towns, in a situation where he could kind of go for an extension. But everybody's now waiting to see what's going to happen. Is he going to follow Jaylen Brunson's lead and take less to be able to help the team? We saw them take in Andre Drummond into the team to replace Mitchell Robinson, who moved on over to the Celtics. And, quite a lot of stuff has happened in the East, which we will get to in a little bit. But what do you think about the Knicks, coming off their championship? And what do you think they have done so far? Do you think they have done enough? Do you think they're right to stay pat? Or do you think they're ready to take on the changes that have come on in the East next season?
I mean, kudos from winning their chip. That shows that you can have one or two superstars on a team, surround them with correct and precise road press, and get the most out of them. That you showed us in the recent complete series. So I'm happy. I'm happy for them. For Jake Burns, who like other persons wrong, who is doubters wrong that hey, you can be that guy in our team. The lefty, I mean, he dominates every era that you ask him for. I mean, if you ask him to go in paint, he did it. If you ask him to shoot three ball, he did it. And also, if you ask him to be Mr. Clutch, he did it. So, I mean, kudos to them. I had the Spurs to that championship, unfortunately. When we couldn't carry type of New York just show that they're ready to announce themselves certain contracts, which is it's gonna be very interesting this season with all that's happening over there. So more quarter and prospect await us.
That's it. Sorry, I cut you off there. Sorry, I thought you were wrapping up. But what I always say is leading into every season, it always feels like the last season that had just completed was so good. And it's like, there's no way the next season could top it. And then the off-season come, and then you see all the trades that are happening, and it's like, boy, I can't wait to see what this new season brings, because it feels like the new season coming up has to top the last one because of all of the storylines that have coming up and everything. I think every NBA fan who observed this off-season is ready for October to come round to see what this season will bring, because the Knicks, of course, they unpredictably came into this postseason as the 3rd seed, I believe it was, and kind of just had a remarkable stretch throughout these playoffs. A little bit of a stumble with Atlanta in the first round, and went all the way, kind of, proving quite a few doubts is wrong. And like you said, Jaylen Brunson coming up clutch and doing everything that team needed from him to be able to, win the crown. He's now Mr. New York. Everybody talking about being the greatest Knick of all time because of what he's been able to do. And I think I jumped that bandwagon. He did quite a lot with that team to kind of break that 53-year curse to bring the first championship to New York since that time. And it's great to see. But yeah, I think that the challenges coming up are going to be really, really interesting. And we'll move straight into the next topic straight away because we don't want to waste so much time on something that's now past. We're going to jump straight into the biggest decision that was made of this offseason. LeBron James, of course, moving on to the Philadelphia 76 and joining his idols team. Michael Jordan, he's made it very clear, Michael Jordan was his idol, but the second person who influenced his game quite a bit and who he watched quite a bit was Allen Iverson, and he's now going to be donning this 76ers jersey. I had to pull out my old Philadelphia jersey. Back in the day, Allen Iverson, as a guy who was such an Allen Iverson fan myself. And Allen Iverson is on the internet, he's making it really clear. He's so happy that LeBron is here. He had a remarkable tweet talking about, thanks be to God, basically. And the process is definitely kicking right now. We thought the process was done with Joel Embiid and him leading this team, but now he doesn't have to worry about leading this team. He now just needs to fit in, play his role very similarly like what we saw in the Olympics, play his role amongst guys who are very capable of scoring and doing everything else. What did you think about this trade? Did you think he was going to land in Philly? Do you think it's the best fit for him? What do you think it happen? What do you think brings to his legacy? There's quite a lot to talk about it, so we want to dive right in.
I recently started reading this book. Alister, it's a Blenki's book.
Okay.
I think LeBron, name of it is actually a great controversy. I think LeBron James.
It's a perfect title.
Because every decision LeBron takes, it always seems to come with some level of controversy and current topics around. He's just that guy. I mean, if you don't want to admit it, fine, but you cannot deny that LeBron James has fully power in the league and is still a eight. I'll go even further. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver said that the league would hold off on making their schedule known until LeBron James meets
decision. Yep.
as much as possible. And what I can tell you, NBA schedule has been discussed. But what I will tell you is that it's an open secret that the 76ers, the time will be crucial. I have the 76ers playing at 5 o'clock Jamaica time on Christmas Eve.
You call it already prime time.
You have to give the Lakers, not the Lakers, the 76ers.
Not the Lakers anymore. You can get that out here now.
But looking at the starting lineup of all the teams that were involved, I mean, you and I spoke up here about the possibilities of in Malik and I said that it would be a good fit, but something about Donovan Mitchell and James are high personal plus. Donovan Mitchell that can only carry food, second round of NBA playoffs. James Harden, not sure what he can when it comes to a conference final or an NBA final. Yeah? Not trustworthy. But when I look up the Sixers team and I see the players that they have in their ranks, Jaylen Brown, Harris Maxey, DJ Edgecombe, LeBron James, Joel Embiid, and a starting line. So that's all.
Power side.
Looking at this team, and there's absolutely no weakness in this starting line. Whatever you want, you can get. If you want mid-range, you can get. If you want shooting, outside of playing frequent shooting, you can get. If you want post-up, you can get. If you want athleticism, you can get it. EJH comes back that. So this team, after all is said and done, I think it's the perfect fit for LeBron James. And just yesterday, that was July 20th, the announcement of TC, Kentavious, Caldwell-Pope,
I mean, no,
signing out
yeah.
76. Shooting, 3 and D, they're called. I think it's the perfect fit for LeBron James at this juncture in his career. And it just goes to show LeBron James is 41 years old. Yeah? He'll be turning 42 in December of this year. And people still have him holding the same clock, still hold him to the same reins as he was 21, 20. That shows good. How you want to know when you're great? When people stop comparing to others while they're still playing. They compare to your younger self.
Old self. True.
What sense you want to cut. LeBron James, I don't think he'll carry this team because we said it last year when he was in the Lakers. I said to you, Alister, LeBron James should have been the third option for the league.
You did.
Luka Doncic. Unfortunately, he had to carry the reins for the league. As I saw what happened. Looking at this lineup, LeBron James should be fourth.
Should be.
Fourth. Carries the load. You have Jaylen Brown carries stocks. I mean, I don't need to see LeBron James play anything extraordinary until we play up. I think this is his last push. He said it in his press conference that he thought that was the last of him when last season ended. I mean, we watched him night in, night out. We also thought that, yeah, what more can he give to? I mean, every time he makes 2-3 steps forward, he takes 5 steps backward in terms of what happens during the season. And I know the LeBron haters will talk, they will gossip and say everything, but there are so many what ifs when it comes to basketball. What if and Kevin Love hadn't got injured in that finals against the Warriors? Yeah, so many things, but I'm happy for the fit. I would say that I don't think he was appreciated enough in LA, and it goes to show because the team that he was surrounded by, I just don't think would bring up the best in him. And you can say whatever you want. I mean, people say everything about you if they like, right? I mean, it doesn't matter to look at his juncture in his career. But never always is better when he's surrounded by shooters and scorers. That's just him. People always talk about Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. Those guys had to have solid players around them in order. I mean, there's no one that has ever won any title that is just a one-man show, one-man wrecking machine. I mean, you have to have good, solid. It just goes to show the greatness of the man. Gary Fisher, former LA Lakers point guard and former NBA champion, he said it. He said that you're not really chasing when you're the guy that creates the ring. For LeBron James plays, title aspiration follows. Yeah? That shows the records of teams before he joined and after they joined. LeBron James has never joined a winning team. We can check this. We can check the stats. I mean, you always say he's one of my favorite rappers, so we can quote him again. Men lie, numbers, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. After LeBron James, and LA Lakers, you're in for something. Eh? Since you didn't appreciate LeBron James, you're in for something. After LeBron James left, 19 and 63. That's the record they had. 20 Miami Heat, 37 and 45. 2018, 2019 Cleveland Cavaliers, 19 and 63. LA Lakers, you're in for some. Since you didn't appreciate it, the king, you're in for some.
They're on the clock.
Tap this team with some white eyes. Good luck to them. I'm no longer a LA Lakers fan. It was 8 seasons. I got 1 championship. I'll take it. But now, the 76ers, and that's my team. So whatever happened over at the Lakers, that's their problem. That's JJ Redick and Rob Pelinka's problem. But
Yeah.
I think serious problem. And the 76ers are in pieces over. LeBron won't have to worry about a lot of teams to contend other than and certain teams. I mean, the Knicks, for one. Cleveland Cavaliers is the next team. The Miami Heat, they're in business as well. So there are certain you have to go through. But the rigors of the full season, and you won't have to do that. And you can't fault him for that.
Mhm.
You can't 41 years old. Why is it that you want to take the rough road to every single? That's just my
Mhm.
and for those bashing him about, I mean, always want to pay best players and this and that. Alistair, you have a business, right? And you're running it.
One of the best
Well,
people in.
higher at that
Mhm.
experienced persons, right?
Yeah.
My potential, get the company money. The most experienced players are persons in the company to just generate revenue. That's the kind of person that you want to hire. So why is it that difference when NBA players wants to play with the best players available are the best players at their disposal? Why is it that? And it's not an issue when other players do. It's an issue when LeBron James does that.
That's it.
Yeah, it's a very interesting conversation that you've raised, and a very thought-provoking questions that you've raised here. There's two things I want to say to that to respond to them directly. I was listening to a guy who did like a little TikTok video or whatever it was a couple of days ago, and he rightfully said something, and I was like, you know what? Whenever LeBron James goes on to a team, that's when they become a super team. If you take out LeBron James from the Miami Heat, you have Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade, you wouldn't necessarily call them a super team. If you didn't have him on the Cavs with Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving, probably not a super team. Good team, really good team, but LeBron James comes onto that team, super team. If he went to Miami with Bam Adebayo, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and jumped onto their super team. So the expectations of LeBron James onto your team means, yes, super team, and the expectations are high. And even at 41, 42 years old, people still say he's like one of the 10, 15 players best, arguably one of the 10 to 15 players, best players in the league. And, he's shown that. Even in the moment where he had to become the number one option again after Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves didn't play, he led admirably and valiantly. Yes, he got swept, and it is what it is against the OKC Thunder. But we expected that. We can't expect a LeBron James at 41 years old to carry against those horses that those boys had. That's another thing. But let's take a step back a little bit. When we were thinking about what that decision was going to come, I said very straight up, very early in the process, that he's going to wait till after the World Cup. He wants the full attention. Okay, check. That happened. And for me, it was really back and forth. I really thought that going to Golden State was probably going to be his thing. I said it in May when we had this discussion, because we were already starting to predict what would be happening in this offseason. And I said, you know what, if he goes to Golden State, he's going to be playing with Steph Curry. I think he's in this FU stage of his career. Tension. And I think he's at this stage where he's he's at an FU stage of his career, where he's like, he just doesn't care. And I think, narratives be damned. Although I said earlier on that I think he's very aware of what people say about him. But I think the opportunity to play with Steph would be one of these big FU moments for him. He'll be like, you know what? This is how I want to go out. I want to play with my boy Steph. We won an Olympic level medal. Let's go get a championship together and all of that. So I think that's very possible. And he's going to be in a situation where he just wants to do what he wants to do. He didn't land with the Golden State Warriors, but he's still in this FU stage. And he's like, you know what? I don't care what none of you all think about me. I'm going after a competitive option and be with the best team. And I'm going after a ring. And that's what his move to the Philadelphia 76ers signal. And even coming back to what I just said about super teams, you had Jaylen Brown coming in, Joel Embiid, Maxey, VJ, Edstrom. A lot of people so far in the offseason discourse have said, you know what, we're not too sure about them. is, there's still owning one ball. The New York Knicks are a well-oiled machine now. Could they actually do something against them? You add LeBron James onto it, and you have a super team. And the expectations are now through the roof. But of course, we have to see the team play. Getting someone like KCP on your bench, you have Anfernee Simons, who I didn't even realize was on the team, is on your bench. You have a solid team. You have Nick Nurse leading that team as well. He now has options, and this guy has shown to be a chessboard player, with the clipboard, and knows what he's doing. We saw what he did in Toronto in 2019 with 1 year of Kawhi Leonard. Can you imagine what he has with LeBron James, Jaylen Brown, Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, and Maxey? This is going to be a really compelling season, and he's now made his decision. Adam Silver, I think he made himself look a little bit small coming on TV talking about, boy, LeBron, we need you to make a decision so we could make our schedule. The teams that he was about to go to. You create a schedule for each of those teams. Make your options, and then as soon as he chose his team, okay, option B. He went to Philly and all of that. Adam Silver made himself look small, but we could guarantee, like you said, a Christmas game, opening night, Martin Luther King, quite a few national TV games are going to be held in Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, where LeBron James, you're going to see Kevin Hart, you're going to see Will Smith, you're going to see all the people on the Philly courtside, just like it was in LA with LeBron James now. And, we're going to see a very long run from this team potentially. And he signed for 2 years, 1 year with a player option. So we're looking at potentially 25 seasons of LeBron James. And the last thing I'm going to say is I was speaking to a guy, another friend of mine in Canada. We have these little basketball discourses all the time because he's very much like you. LeBron, I'm Michael Jordan. But one of the things I always say about LeBron, and I always give him props, when you think about the ideal player, I say LeBron is the best basketball player we've ever seen. 6'9", 250, skills of all the skills that you need in a basketball player. You have him in one package. Yes, he's a little bit diminished or tarnished in the sense of age. He's had a few more years on the wheels, but you now put him in a situation because as soon as this trade happened, the first thing I said was, boy, this is a group assignment where you could get an easy A. You don't have to do too much to submit on this assignment. And LeBron is in that situation. He's going to submit, an assignment to this league in this season, the 24th season, where he doesn't need to do much. You might see some load management because he doesn't need to push as much as he probably had to in years gone by. And we're going to see a team that's going to be ready. You have Jaylen Brown on that team ready to tear the Celtics head off and everything. So it's going to be a very compelling season for the Philadelphia Sixers.
What's the point that I wanted to go on, Alister?
Mm-hmm.
Respect that has been levied on that guy.
Yeah.
For some reason, I mean, I hear the talks about you want to push as if he's the smartest guy in the room. And I know that can come across as being arrogant at times.
Mm-hmm.
Towards Jaylen Brown is one. I mean, he's an NBA champion. He's also an NBA Finals MVP and still doesn't. He truly deserves it. That's one. First, Maxey. People still have him as kind of player that still has to prove himself. That's cool. Joel Embiid. I mean, we all know it's an open secret that he's always injured. That's 3. VJ Edgecombe hasn't proven himself yet. So there are 4 guys on the starting lineup that on paper they're very, but really and truly there's a lot of question marks around. So it just goes back to your point. Inserting LeBron James in a team of this nature will propel them to superstar team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? To the Golden State Warriors would have heard the same thing. Steph Curry, he's playing Draymond Green, super team. If you had gone to Minnesota Timberwolves to play alongside LaMelo Ball and Anthony Edwards, super team. The nature of LeBron James, and you're perfect, right? Whichever team LeBron James would have signed for, it would have been a super team. What if once LeBron James at this juncture oneself a charlatan? Or what was the worst team in the Western Conference last?
Sacramento, I guess, one of them, yeah.
These are the kind of teams you want LeBron James to play for at this stage in his career. Why we always beat sports stars that one going in search of money and going in search of title. At the end of the day, when he calls time on his career, one thing people are going to say, you're going to bring up his NBA title, your accomplishments. That's why they always poke jokes and that.
Mhm.
Who an NBA MVP during the reign of Michael Jordan?
Say that bit again. Ask the question again.
Barkley, who people always make fun of, won
Uh-huh.
a regular MVP when Michael Jordan was in.
Yeah, man.
Played on a dream team with Michael Jordan, all the stars, and was the leading scorer on that team. Not somebody that you could play around or poke fun at. But the fact that he ended his career to trophyless, that's what gives people the ammunition to poke fun at it. Persons going in search of elevating themselves, elevating their standards, right? But
Yeah.
then all it's said and done, and we call time on what people's gonna look, what people are gonna you accomplish.
Yeah. It's a bottom line sport, and that's what it is. Coming back to your point about if it's a business, you want the best people in your business and all of that. In that same conversation that I had with that friend of mine from Canada, I was telling him, what we grew up on in the late 80s, 90s was we had this concept of, going through trials and tribulations, going through things the hard way because you want to prove yourself. You want to kind of go through that gauntlet and show people that you're deserving and all of that. And I think the team and sports psychology in that time kind of lent a hand into that era because we want to compete against the best, against each other. We don't want to team up because we want to try to show we could go through the competition to get better. And his argument was there's just so much more skill in this day and age that every team now has at least one or two superstars on it because the skill complement in this era is so much larger. You're just going to have more guys on teams who are just more skillful than it was back in the day. Fair enough, fair comment. With LeBron, I think that the conversation has always been like, how he potentially engineers a lot of the teams that he's in, making demands about trades and everything. But like you say, we're in and I think him making that decision in 2010 just brought that about and opened the floodgates for that, where it's like, listen, the name of the game is to win a championship. The bottom line is to win. The whole legacy is we need to win a ring to elevate our career, to become respected and everything. So why should I put myself in a harder situation when I could be with the people, with other people who are of my caliber to kind of go through the gauntlet and win together? And of course, that will always be a debate topic. Why would you want to join other superstars rather than go through them? And I think that is because of what we saw back in the day where, people wanted to go through each other. But now you see there's a little more stacking that goes on. And there will always be some debate about whether or not that's the right way to do it, because sports is, you want to go through the best. You want to go through everyone else. But LeBron showed that, you don't necessarily have to do that. You need to kind of, you can come together and do something. But in that, he's now opened that floodgate, and now other teams are doing the same thing. So he's not the only one who's now teaming up. You have other teams teaming up and everything, or players teaming up, and now they're going against each other. So, it is the era that we live in. He's kind of started it out. Okay, fair enough. But it is where it is. This is why I always say as well, the whole greatest of all time conversation is a bit difficult to do because it's just different mindsets, different rules, different players, and all that sort of stuff. But coming back to this LeBron decision, it was the best competitive decision that he could have made. It was the best team for a 42-year-old who you cannot demand as much of anymore. He needed to be in a place where he could share the load. I thought, him going to Miami would have been a really good choice as well. You're not having to play as much defense. He has the ball in his hands like he is. He likes being a playmaker. He could have dished out to these guys. Cleveland, he probably could have done the same thing. He didn't need to have the ball in his hands as much. In Golden State, I thought Golden State would have been the most fun option of the teams, but he would have had a harder demand on him because you have guys like Steph Curry who can be a little bit injury prone, and the defense on that team, apart from Draymond Green, was probably not up to scratch. Yes, you have Kristaps Porzingis, but he's not as reliable anymore health wise and everything, and all of that. So it was difficult to see. For all the teams, he decided to forego, what that option would have been and not being able to see that anymore. But for him and for basketball purposes, I think he made the right choice for him. And I think the league is going to be really interesting moving forward, into this 26-27 season. You have, he escaped the West, Victor Wembanyama and the OKC Thunder and all of these people came over to the East, and let's see what he's going to do. Let's wrap up this session with your last comments on this.
Well, people are going to hate him even more when they find out that when he wins this NBA title, he's the first player to win an NBA title.
Different teams. Yeah.
And also,
Yeah.
he is a team, he wins an NBA title by year 2.
Yep. It's going to be interesting. And, like we said, put LeBron onto your team, you automatically have a super team and you're into contention. And he's done that. He's proven it. And, this is another situation where he's going to do that. I don't know what's going to happen this year. There's going to be a little bit of, people having to come together, try to understand their tendencies and everything. But as we always say, LeBron is a player that has a level of IQ that no one questions. He said it at the start of the last season, and he was like, why are people worrying about me being the third option? I could fit in anyway. And when he had that little opportunity with Luka on the court, the team was humming. They were doing good. So, I don't at all doubt LeBron being able to fit into this situation. It will just be interesting to see how much of a step back does he take? How much is he going to defer? When will he be used in critical situations? Because they will need to see what those clutch time situations are going to be. Who's going to get the ball? You have Tyrese Maxey, who's very capable. Embiid, how often is he going to be on the court? VJ Edgecombe showed that, he could be a dog when you see he's on the court. And of course, you have Jaylen Brown, who showed last year he's an MVP caliber candidate, who is out with an agenda this year to prove quite a lot of people wrong. And pair that up with LeBron James. Oh boy, this is gonna be remarkable. So let's end this segment here. We're gonna come back and talk about a couple of other topics that we have to end off episode 26 on Baseline to Baseline with Alister and Orane. I'm going to come back in a couple of seconds, getting back to you on second part of this episode. All right, talk soon. All right, and welcome back to segment 2 of Baseline to Baseline with Alister and Orane. We into segment 2 of episode 26, where we had a little bit of a discussion about the New York Knicks. Congrats to them, of course, winning the last championship, defending champions coming into the 26-27 season. And of course, we had topic number 2, where we spoke about LeBron James making this decision finally to play with the Philadelphia 76ers, and we kind of gave our thoughts about what that's going to be, how it's going to impact, him and fit there, how he makes that team a super team, even if people having doubts before he arrived and made that decision on whether or not that team will be good enough to even beat the defending champions New York Knicks, and with LeBron James, what that kind of does, and kind of does that put them over the top. And now we're coming into these next topics here that going to be really interesting, talking a little bit about the rookies coming in and some contract decisions and whether or not this is becoming a little bit of a trend. But before I get to that, I want to do 2 things, Orane. Just spare me some time with this. Of course, I wore my St. Lucia basketball jersey. I was in St. Lucia for the summer, and it was great to kind of spend some time with Coach Carla, who we interviewed, president of St. Lucia basketball, going over to one of the games, the playoff games from the National League. It was really good to see, St. Lucia basketball, thriving in the way that it did. And I had to get a little souvenir coming from them. So I have Lil St. Lucia basketball talk for that. And the second thing I want to touch is I want to kind of dedicate this segment to a really close friend of mine who passed away on May 31st. Cuthbert James, BEM. We used to call him Coley. Coley was his nickname, and he got awarded the British Empire Medal in 2024 for his services to lifelong commitment to public service, cultural preservation, and community upliftment. And he passed away. He was the father of one of my really closest friends as we went to school together from primary school all the way up. A barber, one of the hair guys in Castries, one of the most popular barbershops in St. Lucia. And he was a guy who we spent a lot of time with, after school. When we come from school, his son and Jermaine and our little crew will go down to the shop, spend a little time, get our little fresh haircuts, try to look good for the girls after school. And he'll give us jokes and some wisdom and everything. And it was really sad to see him pass away. And what I want to do here as well, I realized that they've set up a website for him, which is a foundation, cuthbertjames.org. I'll put it on the screen for anyone in St. Lucia or anywhere who really wants to kind of contribute to what he does. This website was founded in memory, of course, of his following his passing from complications of diabetes. And the foundation strives to make a lasting impact across St. Lucia by empowering children, preserving our rich cultural heritage, promoting education, and raising awareness about diabetes prevention and healthy living. So this is a really awesome foundation that has been set up, and I definitely wanted to highlight that. This is a guy who was big into football. He would have enjoyed the World Cup, if as when it went on. It's a shame that he didn't get to see that. He got to see his 60th birthday. I know he was really happy to see that. And 2 weeks before he passed away, he had a conversation with me because Michael Jordan had visited St. Lucia a couple of months before, and he was talking to me about Michael Jordan visiting in St. Lucia, and a friend of his who met him in one of the small communities and everything. So it was really sad to see him go, and I want to dedicate this segment to him because he was like a father to quite a few of us, in St. Lucia, boys who became men from his wisdom and his words, his encouragement. And this foundation, cuthbertjames.org, definitely go check that out. I think the projects that they have on there are annual give backs, giving back to the community, some mobile screening for mobile and pop-up blood pressure and blood sugar monitoring screenings. And they're going to start off a Coley Day, so a day which will be commemorating him, an annual family fun day with prizes and entertainment at the Carey Park. Carey, of course, is a part in St. Lucia where he lived. And they're going to be doing an annual fun day in Carey for him in his memory. So it's really good. So Coley Day, Cuthbert James, rest in peace. He was a big guy in my life growing up. So I definitely wanted to give him a few minutes here out of respect, because he was a massive figure and legend in St. Lucia. All right, so coming on into segment 2. The third thing we wanted to talk about today is, of course, contract talks. When we started the episode, we spoke about Karl-Anthony Towns and the decision that he needs to make about whether or not he will take less, because Jaylen Brown has created, this pathway for people to realize that, I could take $113 million less, or whatever the amount was. It was 9 figures, he took less in his contract to kind of allow him to sign the New York Knicks to sign Mikal Bridges and bring in, Karl-Anthony Towns and do less to be able to win a championship. I think Victor Wembanyama just did the same thing, where he's willing to take a little bit less to be able to bring in some help for her team. So we saw Tobias Harris leave the Detroit Pistons and go over to the San Antonio Spurs. And what we're seeing here is, especially with the formula that Jaylen Brunson has shown, taking less to be able to get to team success. Are we seeing a trend in players making that decision? Are players now willing to forego, money to win a championship? And I want to start up this segment because I thought it was really interesting. This came out on First Take a couple of weeks ago, and I found it very interesting to talk about because I think they need to realize this is not going to become a trend. every single situation is different. Everything is its own unique situation. Let's remember, Jalen Brunson is the son of a former NBA player. Yes, Rick Brunson was not a star. He wasn't a superstar. He didn't make superstar max money, but he grew up in a situation where he probably didn't have to struggle as much as other people did. I think we had a conversation where LeBron James, when we were talking about, you had made the financial point. This is a guy who never took, less than the max whenever he played before, other than this year coming up. And this is a guy, when you think about what his background was, coming with a mother. Gloria James was a single mother, coming from, the upbringing that he had. This is a guy who had to fight and claw for everything that he had. He was not going to take less than the max. And, I think what people need to realize that Victor Wembanyama, let's be real here. This is a guy from France who, light-skinned boy, who come from France, he looks like he came up from a well-off family. He chills out with the monks and everything. This is a guy who doesn't necessarily need to struggle in life anymore. So I think, each circumstance is going to be different. The background of these players will determine whether or not they think giving up max money is going to be right for them. We have these rookies coming into the league now, who didn't come from NBA families, who are going to be looking for their max contracts. But do you think this is going to be a trend? Do you see players wanting to give up money to create a competitive team? Or do you think that, just the way that we are in society now, that guys will want to be foregoing money for the sake of a team, in that sort of way?
Depends on two things. I said depends on the players. It depends on where they are. Because Victor Wembanyama, I think it has fast tracked certain things, and it's just about going towards his peak. You're still young. You have all the tools at your disposal. You've seen what his current squad can do. He went to the NBA final, came close to winning an NBA championship. Now he's here.
Yep.
What do you maximize that potential as early as possible? You don't want this window of close on, right? The money will come.
Yep.
You have all the skills, you have all the talent. Money will come. What do? Maximize it as much as possible. That's your paddle. And try to go all in for a championship as early as possible. So I think in the age and the effect that the opportunity at your schools are no. I mean, we've seen a lot of all the money in the world, next contracts. But he didn't maximize his talent in his early days at Portland Trail. Pressed him more front of surrounding him with players that will give him a chance to rehab. Yeah? He that didn't go. So wow, with the Portland Trail. I mean, Damian Lillard is a modern superstar in my books. Yeah? And I think all said and done, if he should end his career, and for those who didn't when look and say, yeah, I mean, I hear you talk about him so much, but he's not an NBA champion. No, are someone that makes that fun. Two of us, we watch Damian Lillard. We are watching Damian Lillard 99. So this guy is a superstar. Yeah? Arguably the second best shooter in the league right now. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
And maximize as much when you have the opportunity. Guys like Victor, as I said before, are trying to maximize their potential as soon as possible. And I think the right gives the team the opportunity to get players that they could surround you. I have no problem with that. Because as I said, you don't want at least where you end your career, you have all the money in the world, but then when it comes to a discussion and yearly of the person see that, yeah, but you have all the accolades, but you don't know what it takes to win. You can't. So I think it's the right move. Early in your career, if you're that type of player, the money will come, as I said before. Try to maximize your talent. Get that type out of the way. and then you sign your big contract. People criticize Kevin Durant. I mean, LeBron James might think, yeah, cost me 2 NBA championships. Yeah, when he went to the Golden State Warriors, but Kevin Durant be the right thing because all the Kevin Durant, other superstar, other great, he's probably a tier or two below LeBron James and things of that nature. But the argument was always, zero title. No, can't say that from about Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant has 2 NBA titles with 2 NBA Finals MVP on a team that has Clay Thompson and Draymond. Want to say about Kevin Durant? You can say yes, he's the weakest move of a superstar. Whatever you want to say, you can't say Kevin Durant not content.
True. Can't take that away from him.
Get time put away, and then you start to demand because NBA is a business as
True.
and when you have you can demand certain, right? So when you bring so this, I'm an NBA champion. You've seen the stats that I produce. I'm also a perennial all-star. I did this, I did that. This is what I want. If they can't match it, they'll force to trade you. And they'll force to trade it to a team that can pay you. I mean, Tobias Harris hasn't been that player where he's a superstar. But what Tobias Harris has done better than most players in the league is to demand that money.
True.
That we are one superstar in the league, but I will not leave the NBA trophyless and moneyless.
True. Yeah.
As Zion not coming, the money will curve up. And Tobias Harris, if you look at all the contracts that guy have signed, Tobias Harris always sign contracts that are superstars. Look, yes, like whenever you look like on the outside, you're like, I would want to be in that negotiation. Is it different, Paul?
I can't remember, actually. I'm not too sure. I'll have to check that.
Always agents wanting to pull off because to me that is the of money ice. Because contracts like this LeBron James and Steph Curry. Yeah. And you pick your poison. Tobias Harris is smart and goes for the cash. Wherever it's a cut, you always seem to just elevate the team. You can't fault it because what? We've seen what bad contracts can do to players. No, then it should have.
True. Yep. That's a cautionary tale right there.
Well, you just have to pick up poison, and I have no problem with guys taking people at certain juncture in their career to go for. You have to have some smart. There's some smarts about it. So I have no problem with guys doing what's best of their career. Because you look, back in the 90s, early 2000s, I mean, see contracts that, with inflation, you can't really compare it like that. But when you look at what Scottie Pippen signed and Charles Barkley signed, I mean, you're looking like, what?
It's crazy what the numbers are, yeah. Yeah, but even back then, Jordan didn't take max money each time. It was crazy at the time when the last couple of years he wanted 33 mil. That was the highest players were paid at that time, and it was towards the end of his contract because we were like, you know what, I need to start making max money now. And every other season before that he took less, and that was an effort to make sure that his team, he had enough players that the money got spread around to have the right players around his team. And I don't blame Victor Wembanyama for doing it at all. But I think coming back to the question about whether or not this will become a trend, it definitely won't, because it depends on what the circumstances are. The Spurs are in a situation where they are a contender for sure. They've made it to the finals now. Victor Wembanyama, of course, is the star. and he knows, we are right there. If there's anything I could do to help that team, I'm going to try to do it. And if that means taking a little less money, that's okay. Jalen Brunson had the foresight to realize, we can make this team a championship team. I will take less. And who knows, these guys get so much money in endorsements. He knew he was in New York. He was going to be in the media capital of the world. He's going to get opportunities to make money on the side. So he probably figured, I don't need to take all this money right now. I will get it in the back end somehow. And he was able to do that. If Victor Wembanyama is on the Charlotte Hornets, you think he's going to give them people money back? No. Because he's not in a competing situation, and he's probably not going to have, the structure around him. So he's probably not going to take less in those situations. So I think players who are so close to making a championship run, they do need to start to think about those situations. You have to sacrifice. LeBron James is going to Philadelphia, and he decided, I don't need to talk about money right now. Of course, he spent 24 years in the NBA, so his financial situation is different. But now I don't need $52 million anymore. I could sign a 2-year, $8 million contract because I want to help this team win. The situation with the Lakers, it was like if he decided to re-sign there, he would have had to take less. So the situations will dictate the players' decisions on that. And I suppose it depends on the agents as well, whether or not, they're out for the best interest of the players and want them to be in the best competitive situations rather than looking out for their pockets. That will have a determining factor in that as well. But I think players' background, the team situations and everything will definitely determine the decisions that those players made. So I don't think it will become a trend, but you will definitely see, because of what Jaylen Brunson did, a lot of star players having to make that decision. Do I want to be in a competitive situation or not? Draymond Green was in a situation here just before LeBron made his decision. He opted out of his contract to renegotiate what that would be to allow LeBron James to come onto that team. That's what champions are willing to do, because they know what the opportunities are there for them. So the situations will definitely dictate that. And Wemby, I think he's done the right thing. Let's see what other moves are coming down the road before the season starts. Trade deadlines coming up and everything and all of that. So we just have a lovely season coming up where there's so many factors at play. And Wemby probably doing this might be a championship move for him, not necessarily on the court, but in the accounting books, that would allow someone to come in to kind of help him go into the season and be a competitive team. And the last thing we're going to talk about today coming in, we had, of course, an awesome rookie class coming in with AJ Dabansa, Cameron Boozer, Darren Peterson, Caleb Wilson, all the guys who have come in. They've had a really interesting summer league so far. The top 4 guys, have showed out. What have you seen so far with those boys coming into their teams? And do you think, which one do you think stands out the most, and which will be able to help his team elevate their team to a very competitive team based on where they landed?
Well, obviously I have to start with KT because as Jamaican as well. His mom is a Jamaican, so yes, I can have done a lot of work with Jamaican basketball. So, I just hope the team that gets getting that Warriors team, as we say, is trying for something. Not sure how far they'll go, but they'll make some noise. When you tie AJ Spencer, Trey Young, Anthony Davis, a starting lineup that screams potential.
Yes.
Because he's a player that, obviously rookie going first year. But I saw something from him during his games that I said, yeah, this guy has all the things that he needs.
Mm-hmm.
He gives that Cooper Club vibes. Just give him some time to settle down and he'll show his true potential. So I am very can do. And also 76, not this one by 17, but LeBron Killen, 16K, going to the Philadelphia. Very good guy coming out of Alabama. I just think that when you're that kind of player coming into a situation that the likes of LeBron James or Joel Embiid around.
Yeah.
Whatever. Soak up as much as possible. Because that 1 or 2 year window that you have, try to be a sponge. We have
That's it.
a
Soak up.
you breathe as much as possible. And you're coming into a situation where you're not just a throwing. You earn your spot on the 76ers. So I'm excited to see what he can do as well. And also shout out to the Caribbean because we're also taken for our friends in the Caribbean. Malik Lewis, the 60th pick, the last pick in the draft. But on. Yeah?
Right.
So as a player, he's going to be a Milwaukee.
Right,
Shout out. When you get that low draft, you really see a lot of NBA time. You normally send those players to the TV to earn their skills there. But I just hope that whatever he learns in TV, he can carry to the NBA. He can get back because we all know it's not within your draft. What you do with your potential. Equally, you a part perfect. Dream would be on. So whatever opportunity you get in the NBA, okay, and the sky's the limit for all the guys coming also. And
Absolutely.
for the Golden State for that, I've been watching that guy. I think he's a foul. He loves some in the league. So there are a lot of potential who's coming into the league as well. So all the guys, I mean, he's probably the most stocked draft we've seen in a while. Because when you look as a sniper one thing, those guys can change your fortunes around for whatever team they play for. It's a very exciting draft.
Absolutely. And yeah, the one I definitely want to shout out, we know for sure Darren Peterson, he came in, he showed that, he's a playmaking scoring guard. Had a few, issues with turnovers and fouls, but I think there's an interview where he said, he's like, oh, okay, I have 10 fouls, so I'm going to use the 10 fouls. But there was a little bit of a turnover issue as well. But it's a growing pains. That's what you're in the summer league for, to try to understand the flow and the pace of the game and understand the plays from your coaches, your new coaches and everything. So, having turnovers is not an issue in the summer league at all. Rather make the mistakes there and learn from it before you get into the regular season. But of course, he will not be devoid of mistakes during the season anyway. Big shout out to Caleb Wilson though, Chicago Bulls. He showed out, during this summer league, and there was a conversation that I think it was said with Derrick Rose, where Derrick Rose said to him, what does it take to be a superstar in this league? And he said, you have to have a little bit of delusional in you. You have to be totally, confident in your skills and thinking that you're going to be the best on the court. And he had that little bit of delusional, and he could see a little bit of that in Caleb Wilson. He's come in and he said, he wants to be better than Mike. He's coming in to a team that is a franchise that has all the history of Michael Jordan behind it. And he's like, no. I don't want to be like Mike. I know I came from UNC the same way. I came from North Carolina, but I want to be myself and be better than what was there before. And, delusional, maybe, but that's what you need to be successful in this league. But like you said, calling out all the guys, who have showed out in the summer league so far. AJ is going to be really interesting to see what he does with the Washington Wizards, the opportunities that he gets there. Darren Peterson and, that guard room between him, Keontae George, and the other guys, Ace Bailey, and everyone there, and the Utah Jazz are going to be an interesting team to watch with Jaren Jackson Jr. and everyone there at the moment. Of course, Walker Kessler has gone on to the Los Angeles Lakers, but it's still a very competitive team. So the rookies coming in, they're going to be in for a very historical ride. Dead for one of the last seasons of LeBron James. So it's going to be interesting and everything. So yeah, you want to see something here?
With Alister, the same way that I spoke about earlier, Yaxel Ledenberg for the Golden State Warriors. He Summer League MVP.
Yes, he did. Yes.
From the second player in Summer League history to win an NCAA title and a Summer League MVP title in the same season. So I've been watching that mentally. He has the goods to make someone in the league.
Yeah, and I think there's even discussions about him. I think something came up, and I'm not sure how true it is, but a tweet came up for me from one of the reputable NBA stories, profiles, NBA Central, that said, Steve Kerr has already spoken to him about potentially starting this season. So they love what they've seen from him in the summer league, and he will definitely plug a hole for them. The Golden State Warriors have been a little bit unlucky with bigs over the last few years. We have James Wiseman. Kuminga has come in and gone, didn't really show out. And of course we have KP, Kristaps Porzingis, who's going to be absent for a little bit with load management, so he'll be able to fill in some time there. And Al Horford, who of course is old man Al, dependable Al, but you can't really expect him to play 40 minutes a game. So Yaxel is definitely going to have quite a lot of opportunities to play for the Warriors there. So we're going to end off the episode here on that. We had a really good return to the schedule with talking about the Knicks, LeBron, contract situations, and the rookies coming in. We are definitely looking forward to this new season. We have a few weeks as we wait for the schedule to be released. Going to be really interesting to see, what Adam Silver was planning and cooking up as he waited for LeBron James's decision. But, we're here. We're going to talk a little bit before the season starts, and we hope to have you continue on with us. So ending off episode 26 here, Orane, I'd like to thank you as usual. Thank you, listeners, for listening. And of course, like I said, Cuthbert James, cuthbertjames.org, if you want to, do something which is really, beneficial to the youth in St. Lucia. A man who has passed away, and a foundation was developed to try to help with diabetes prevention. Definitely want to give that another shout out. But ending off here, thank you, Orane, as usual. We shall see next week. Let's see what topics we're going to come up with, and we'll go from there. All right, take it easy, man. Respect. It's up.
Breaking down the stats, every fan should know. Trace, place, legends in the making. Every headline, no mistaking. 5 breaks, crossovers, highlight reels. What's real strategy, what type and feels. East to west, we call it straight. From draft night buzz to finals fade. Baseline to baseline, we cover it all. Big plays,